Jets go from making the playoffs to not even getting close, actually. And
they're executing the plays, and they are doing what's needed and necessary to win football games.
They just didn't show up again. Another team showed up to play with a game plan, executed the game plan, and then the Bills did not.
Just a couple of guys, a couple of microphones, and a heck of a lot of no. It's Football on the No with Jim and Joe.
what is your guys' opinion on the catch?
No, that was
a complete
it's a
catch.
Debatable
I don't think so.
Absolutely.
What they say, it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmies and the Joes.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the No. I am Jim McPhee. There's Cody in the corner over there, and alongside of me here is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, know-it-alls? Welcome back for another edition, a very special edition. This is our favorite time of the year on Football on the No show.
Is it Christmas already?
This is
Playoff time?
No. Off season. This is right after free agency hits. Now we're getting into the draft. This is where we're amped up for. This is an opportunity for all 32 teams out there to get better or get worse, but we'll find out.
We shall see.
If you're new to the show, do us a huge favor. It would be really appreciated. Thank you guys, first of all, for all the know-it-alls out there, all your support. Second of all, if you are new, head over to YouTube, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button on our channel. Also hit the notification bell, let you guys know when we go live. And you can also follow us, of course, here on Facebook. And anywhere you can get your podcast. Spotify, iTunes, you name it, we're there. Drop a follow there. Take us along with you on your daily. And let's have fun. Let's have fun, guys. Let's go. I am ready.
It's about that time.
Yeah, it is. So it's cool. And usually we do, when it's around this time, we do your list. So it ends up being just Joe's list. Joe, he does the list. He does all the work and the scouting and all this stuff and all the film watching and stuff. And I sit back and I relax, and I get to look at it after. I'm one of those late type of shoppers, right before the draft's going to hit. I'll be like, all right, I'll do my quick, looking through things and my own little quick stuff right before it. I wait till the last minute, but these guys are on it. But now we got Joe and Cody are along with it here, and so we're going to look at the top 10 list between both of them here. And we're doing the offense this week, starting off. So it's 2023 NFL Draft offensive positions here. What positions you guys want to start off with first here? We're doing we're doing the quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, and O-line, right?
Let's go O-line first.
All right, O-line first. Here we go. So let's take a look at the list here together, and then you guys can talk amongst yourselves and see the difference here that we have. All right, let's take a look at it here. There's the two lists, Joe's list and Cody's list. Let's see what differences we have here.
Yeah, we're similar kind of near the top.
Similar here. Okay, so at 1 overall, I have Peter Skoronski, and Cody has Broderick Jones. And then if you look at my number 2 is Broderick Jones, and he has Peter Skoronski at number 2. So let's just talk real quick. We'll just run right through this because obviously we both view both of these prospects at a high level. We got them 1 and 2, and bottom line, for me, it's basically who do you like better in terms of technicians? For me, number 1 overall is Peter Skoronski all day long. This is a guy that despite his, he does have a little bit of short arms, but technically sound up and down. This guy is a plug-and-play player right away, and he could play guard. He can play tackle. He has the versatility to do both. And quite honestly, if he wanted to, he could play center. This guy is that talented, and that's why he's number 1 for me. And then for Broderick Jones for me, he's a very athletic and big man. From Georgia, this guy is 6'5", all of 310 pounds. Very athletic, guy that can really kind of get out there and get blocks. So if you need this guy to pull, he can do that. He can bury guys if you want him to. He can do a lot of things extremely well. He's still got a few more things to tweak out in terms of technician-wise, still developing. But other than that, the guy is a killer prospect.
Yeah. All right, so when I'm looking at the two players and I had to decide which one to put at 1, which one to put at 2, it was really difficult. There was a lot of debating, lots of I'll put him at 1, but I like this, and just kind of going. Right. It was going back and forth a lot, and it almost came down to who has, I don't want to say the prototypical build, but Broderick Jones, he fits everything you want in a tackle. He is
course.
exceptionally fast to go with it all. So I was like, I'm going with that. And then if, we know that Skoronski, there's that potential. Some people want him to move to guard. But if he moves to guard, this dude is just, he's a freak. He can play very high level at tackle. If he plays guard, it is borderline like first season on all-pro selection every year.
Yeah.
Tackle, there's only the slight question marks with his
length in his arms.
Yeah, length in the arms, and obviously he's a little short, but not too bad. I think he's like 6'2".
Yeah, he's 6'4", actually.
I was
313.
definitely not correct on that one. But anyways. All right.
Yeah, I mean, and then we'll go forward into the third picks. I got John Michael Schmitz from Minnesota at 3. You have Osiris Torrance from Florida. For those picks right there, it's not a bad pick for either one of us. I mean, I could see why Osiris Torrance, you have him at 3. John Michael Schmitz to me is one of those guys where he can play guard or center. He has that versatility, and he's a technician as well. Like, he's already really good. So you can plug and play him in the interior, and you can be happy with either position that he plays. That's why I only gave him the edge over a guy like Osiris. But with Osiris, I mean, there's no harm, no foul with having him at 3 because, again, you have him, and he is a dominating run blocker. He will put people 6 feet deep on the field. Yeah. This guy puts people to rest, and he is an animal, giant guard, and a guy that you love to be a road grader, a guy that's just a mauler out there on the football field. So I don't mind that at 3 for Osiris. But what do you have to say about having him at 3? Like, did he stand out like that much for you?
Yeah, when I was looking at the two, I fell in love with Osiris Torrance like right off the rip because this dude, 3,000 plus career snaps, not a single sack given up, which is, there are not many players just in general in the history of college football that could say they started 4 years and didn't even give up one. It is extremely impressive. So this dude, you got an insane run blocker, an insane pass blocker, easily the number 1 guard in the draft. It's only debatable if Skoronski moves. Then you have that little battle between the two. But this dude is going to be great. He's going to be one of those first season, like Zach Martin's right off the rip.
Definitely could be, for sure.
Player.
For sure. And then we go to 4 and 5. I'll just go a couple positions here. Yeah. I have Paris Johnson. Like a lot of the consensus about Paris Johnson, he's the number 1 tackle. He's the number 1 guy coming out in terms of offensive lineman. And I have Osiris Torrance following right behind him. Only reason why, and has nothing to do with Osiris Torrance's talents. The guy, like you said, like we've done the film work. The guy is amazing. Yep. We're not shortcutting him at all. But when it comes to tackle versus guard, a lot of people are going to push that tackle over guard because it's such a big deal. So that's the only reason why I have Paris Johnson over him. And then for you have DeJuan Jones at 4.
Yep.
And you have at 5, you have John Michael Schmitz.
Yep, I had Paris Johnson a lot lower on
What's the reason? What's the reason that you have DeJuan Jones so high on your list at 4?
All right, so DeJuan Jones, while there's a little bit more, I guess, from like a style point to work on, this dude he's huge. What was he? I think it was a 6'8", 380 with the biggest wingspan in literal NFL history. And I looked at his tape, people were pointing out red flags. And I looked and I'm like, I don't see as many as a lot of other people see. Yeah, he's big. Sometimes he has a little bit of issues with guys cutting to the inside.
Yeah,
but in
his
like
athleticism.
The Senior Bowl practices alone, you could see his progression from like day 1 to day 3.
Yeah.
This is someone extremely actively working on their craft, improving every season. And when I look at someone like Paris Johnson, I just don't think he's as polished as a pass blocker. He's insane in the run game, but when I'm looking at my tackles, pass blocking is just a bit more important for me because of how big the impact on the game is with that. If you're not a great pass blocker at the next level, you're going to screw your teams over more often than not, even if you're, if you have the edge.
And that's the thing with Paris Johnson, though, is I see him as a projection. Yeah. Like, that's why he's higher on my list than yours. I have him as projected because he already has the athletic ability, already has the run blocking down. He needs to refine his pass blocking technique for sure, but I think that's very easily coachable at the next level. So for Paris Johnson, like that's why I have him there. Dewan Jones.
Just real quick, I understand where Cody's kind of coming from though, because with the way the league is designed right now, it's a pass happy league, so I can understand where he's talking about here. Right. It's only one team or so that's different, or say two, like the 49ers or like the Ravens of last year in a couple of years have been really run heavy, so you don't really see that traditionally. So who knows? But like you said, coachability, it depends on where he lands too, and what team drafts this.
He's going to be picked high.
And it depends on where these guys are.
Top
Picked high, but is it a great organization? We've seen terrible organizations draft these guys that are high, and they don't do well sometimes because of the way the organization is.
Well, that's the thing with Paris Johnson. That's why he's already got the run blocking down. The pass blocking part of it is coachable, and he's not far from being one of the better pass blockers. He needs to refine his technique for sure, but he's going to definitely do that. I see him more like a comparable like Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas wasn't refined yet, and he got drafted by the Giants, and you're starting to see him turn the curb, and now he's becoming that tackle that they were hoping he would become. So
I like that comparison.
For Dewan Jones, 6'8", 374. I mean, you don't see tackles that big. Like, it's a rarity. This guy's an ogre on the offensive line. Like, the guy's massive. He's super strong. You can't go through him at all, obviously, because you can't move a mountain. It's impossible. So this guy, the only problem that I have with him, even though I'm a huge fan, I love this dude. Like, I would love to take this guy. But the only problem is athleticism. And that's the bigger issue. When you get to that next level, he may struggle with those speed rushers on the edge. And he might not be able to get his hands or move his feet quick enough to get in front of them. So that's one question that I have with him. But if he's able to work on that footwork, maybe get a little faster at it, then he'll be like, good luck trying to get around him, through him, anything. So, I'm really big on Dewan Jones, too. I like him. We'd already talked about John Michael Schmitz. Yeah. And you have him right after Dewan Jones there at 5. Next, you have Darnell Wright from Tennessee at 6, who is a guy that we see climbing the draft boards as we get closer to the draft. And then I have Dewan Jones at 6, and you can see how we're going kind of back and forth here. But Darnell Wright at 6, I have Darnell Wright at 7, and you have at 7 you have Cody Mock from North Dakota State. Yep. So let's talk about Darnell Wright for you. Like, what did you see in him at 6?
All right, with that, there's just a lot of efficiency as a blocker. You're gonna hear me time and time again if we talk any more of these guys, is there are so many polished pass blockers in this draft. Mm-hmm. You can go deep, almost into the 4th round, and find starting caliber pass blockers from the tackle position. But what sets him aside is just I think there was 2 or 3 seasons of starting experience, and then he's also a great run blocker, which sets him up above some of the other guys who maybe have to develop that part of their game.
Right.
So this dude, just day one, he's another one of those guys that you can probably put in, and he's going to be efficient right from the get-go. Most of my guys under that, they might be solid in one part of their game, but they aren't as developed as Darnell Wright is.
Yeah, Darnell Wright, former 5-star prospect, goes to Tennessee, and he's developed very nicely. And this is a guy that is literally soaring up the boards right now.
Yep.
This guy
constantly
is
jumping.
I mean, who knows? In actuality, we're talking about, Paris Johnson Jr., and we're talking about, Dewan Jones and all that. A lot of people are putting these guys into boxes here too. Is can he play left tackle? Is he just a right tackle? So for Darnell Wright, he's kind of being put in that box as a right tackle, and I don't think that's fair, because I think he does have the capability to go to the left side if needed. So for Wright, shooting up the draft boards, 6'5", and 330 plus pounds. The guy definitely has the size, definitely has the ability to do what he's got to do. And going forward, you got Cody Mock too, at 7. And obviously, my 7 is Darnell Wright, my 8 is Cody Mock. We're kind of just below each other. But go ahead and tell me a little about Cody Mock.
Cody Mock. All right, let me get to that part of my notes real quick. All right. So the thing I like about him is obviously he's another one of those guys, very efficient pass blocker, and he also gives you that needed that needed speed for if you need to block someone at the next level, or maybe you need to pull out because the tight end is crashing down on the edge for you, because he is, I believe he was a former tight end, broke all of his high school records. It was 24 touchdowns in his last season, breaking all of their receiving records. And, oh, Shaq! I'll say that one. I don't think I've seen him on the show before. Welcome to the show,
What's
Shaq.
going on, Shaq?
I didn't even know his last name until right now. Like, who is this person now?
Nasir.
Man, all right.
I lost my train of thought there.
All
For
right,
a second.
Cody Mock, the
Cody
Mock,
toothless
go back to your
wonder.
notes.
The toothless wonder. Yeah. I think I brought up most of my points over with him, and over what 4 hurries last season was one of the other like big things.
Right.
This dude just does not miss in terms of
The
pass
guy,
blocking.
the guy happens to be one of the most athletic offensive linemen in here. 6'5", so he's not by any means short.
Yeah.
6'5", 302, very athletic, and he does move extremely well for a lineman. And the other thing I'll say is that he's a better run blocker than he's given credit for. This guy's going to turn some heads. He's going to surprise some people. Whoever is the lucky team to get this prospect here, they're going to get a solid one, really good one there.
Hey, you know what, Cody? There's one thing, as a person looking outside, you guys made your list and stuff like that. So looking at the list here, there's one thing that stands out to me out of the ordinary, is you have Blake Freeland here at 8, and Cody, he's not even on Joe's list. So what's with Blake Freeland that you saw here about him that he jumps up to number 8 on your list, and that Joe doesn't have him on here?
All right, so when I'm looking at him, it's another guy with multiple years of success. When I look at a guy, I can't even talk. When I look at certain prospects, I want to see multiple seasons. Have they done this multiple years? Is this just one season that they had? But this guy, the last 2 seasons, he's only even given up, I think it was 6 hurries. I think like 1 sack. So this dude's been efficient for multiple seasons, provided BYU's schedule's not always the toughest. They're not playing a lot of ranked teams. But those hurries aren't coming against like the best guys. He's going toe-to-toe with the best edge rushers. They're just not getting past him in those games. So I'm like, this dude, he's going to be someone you can get in like the 3rd or 4th round. That is like day 1. Let's get him right in there at tackle, and he'll be able to compete with just about anybody.
Right, and that's the thing is technically he's on my list. He's just not in my top 10. He's right outside. He's like at 11 for me. So Blake Freeland is one of my favorite prospects that is not getting talked about right now. From BYU, and I understand like sometimes teams are a little scared off by BYU and their prospects because they're worried about them not playing on Sundays. It's a religious school, and they're worried about them like saying, well, no, I'm not going to play football, but it is what it is.
They're against Mormons.
Yeah.
Damn it.
The thing with Freeland though is it's very interesting because even though everybody's doing these top 10 lists, everybody's doing their top 5 lists, whatever they're doing right now, but all of these rankings don't justify how deep these positions are. Like they are extremely deep. I'll admit I struggled to rank players in all these positions except for maybe quarterback. Like, it is so deep every year like it is, but this year, the talent is so evenly matched. The talent is so close to being right there neck and neck. So, I definitely struggled. I had to hold out Freeland from the top 10 because there's so many other guys that it's like you can't put them all in the top 10. I'd love to, like 1A, 1B, 2B, 2A, 2B. Like I wish I could do that. Yeah. But yeah, it made it really hard to do so. Blake Freeland is definitely a really good player.
Nice.
Going forward, we're getting down to the end here. At I will just say number 9 and number 10. I'm going to announce them right now on my list. I have Anton Harrison from Oklahoma, a guy that was rising up lists and now is kind of stagnant. He's not really going very far. Yep. Steve Avila from TCU, a guard, and what a really good guard he is, a mauler. He's starting to fly up lists. A lot of people have him early 2nd round pick, maybe sneaking into the bottom of the 1st round. But other than that, I'll just say this: Anton Harrison, tackle. Like that's all you got to say. Like a tackle with attributes that you like, a guy that can come in and be a day 1 starter. Still needs a little bit more development, but nonetheless, a guy that can definitely hold down one side for you. And then Steve Avila, just tremendous guard. I really think that by the time the draft gets here, like it's going to be hard to push these guys out of first round because you know it's going to happen. These lists that we're doing, it's going to happen where some of these guys are going to slip into the second, third rounds, and you're getting first round talent. So for you, Cody, your last two, you have Paris Johnson Jr. landing at 9 and Anton Harrison at 10.
Yeah, I thought it was actually pretty interesting that we both had Anton like right near the bottom, because on a lot of the lists I've seen, people ranking this guy in the top 5, and the thing that really stood out to me when I'm watching like his tape and all that is he's just not very aggressive. A lot of these guys have that kind of like killer instinct, and once they get a hold of you, they just want to plant you into the ground. Anton just seemed like very content with like, yeah, you can come to me and I'll just kind of make it work from that point. But like, you can't do that at the next level. You'll get destroyed at the next level.
Right.
Like he has all this, like he has the perfect strength, height, weight, but he needs to like toughen up. Come on. You're not going to make it. It's just almost aggravating watching it. 'Cause like this dude has so much potential.
Absolutely.
Just like grow a pair.
Grow up here. Get some balls. Will you? Oh, man.
Yeah, real quick. So I have honorable mention guys that, even though we've created our top 10 lists, guys that are also being talked about highly throughout the league. We already mentioned Blake. Matthew Bergeron is from Syracuse is another guy that some people are projecting to maybe go in the lower first round. Braden Daniels from Utah. Jalen Duncan from Maryland. Andrew Voorhees from USC. This guy I really want to talk about because not only is he a really good guard, he was definitely seen as a top 3 guard coming out. Yeah. Then at the combine, he blew his ACL. Like his ACL tore apart on the 40-yard dash and he was done. But people thought he was done. He still continued and did bench press. Like this guy tore his ACL, could have easily been like, yo, I need to go to the hospital. But he's like, this is the reason why he has a tremendous amount of passion for this game. So that's a guy to watch out for, to see how far down he goes just based off of that injury. You know he's not going to play this year. Yeah. But, man, could you maybe possibly in the middle to late rounds get a steal with Voorhees and put him in your back pocket for the following year? That would be amazing. Yeah,
we see guys kind of like that every year. It was a similar situation with, I think it was Jalen Smith a handful of years back, who was like, oh, this guy's first-round talent. He's going right at the top, and then he had that injury, and it's like, well, he can't even play the first year. Like, do you want him?
Yeah,
and then he slipped back, and it was like initially a steal, and then his play very quickly kind of like dove off the cliff.
Yeah, dipped down. A few more other guys. McClendon Curtis from Tennessee Chattanooga. Yeah. Yep, smaller school, but man, this guy has the ability to become a starter. Olu Oluwatimi from Michigan. You're Michigan Wolverines center, a guy that definitely goes underrated. Like this guy is a truly amazing center. He needs to be talked about more. Also can play guard if need be. Anthony Bradford from LSU, Emil Ekiyor, another center from Alabama, who actually has a lot of nice features that you like in a center. Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin. This is a guy that's kind of all of a sudden started to rise up draft boards in terms of centers here. So that's a guy to watch out for to see where he goes, maybe in the second round or something like that. But nonetheless, there's honorable mentions for offensive line. Now we are going to move on to tight ends.
All right, tight ends. Right. Here we go. Cody's and Joe's list for tight ends here. And
they're actually a little different this time.
Yeah, it is too, because even Joe has 10, Cody has 5. Like I
didn't go as deep into tight ends.
Right, or he just fell asleep on that one.
That's fine.
He was hitting space bar through his whole part. You know, when he put his list down. He fell asleep on the space bar. But here we go. Here's the two lists here between Cody and Joe. I'm trying to mix you guys together.
You just combined our names.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Maybe that's what you guys are now. Combined together. It's like, like the Benefer and things like that. That's what you guys would have to be now. So there you go. I'm going off the rails. But here we go. We got the top 10 for Joe. Cody's got 5.
Oh, geez.
So let me just get to Cody just real quick and just say then. Cody, how come you just went with 5? Do you think it's that watered down here with these tight ends, or like there's no reason of putting more on there, or what's the deal?
When I was going through my list, I want to mainly hit the guys that are getting drafted in rounds 1 through 4, maybe not many in 4, more 1 through 3. I didn't go super deep. When you're getting into tight ends, a lot of those guys are going in like rounds 4 through 7. and I don't always go that deep in my draft prep. So I kind of stopped. I think I ended up doing like 6 or 7, but I only went 5 on my list.
I see. Okay.
All right. Well, let's get right to your list.
Like people were trying to get that first round,
So number 1, you have Michael Mayer from Notre Dame. And then following that, you have Darnell Washington from Georgia. Michael Mayer, I'm really intrigued why you have him as number 1, because I don't view him as this, like a lot of the narrative around him is like he's a can't miss prospect. You got to draft him. He's definitely the best tight end. Tell me why you think he's number 1.
All right, so right now, he is one of the most NFL-ready tight ends coming out of this draft. This guy has hands. He is very hard to bring down. His catch radius is just out of this world. Like watching his highlights, the QB could put it anywhere. It was almost like cool to watch because usually, I'll be like, oh, I don't like all the jump balls, but it wasn't as much about the jump balls as much as this guy just has an insane catch radius. He has good hands, he's very consistent, and he is one of the best run blockers in this entire class to go with it, which is huge. There are not many tight ends coming out of college who I can be very confident in them in the run game. So I feel like the run blocking is what really gave him like the step up on like Kincaid and Washington for me.
Okay, so this is where we differ immensely. Michael Mayer, to me, and this is why he's not number 1. Yes, you're right about some of the things you said as far as like he's like the most like NFL ready tight end. That doesn't necessarily mean that he'll be the best tight end in the NFL. And the reason why is because he struggles a lot with getting open. And he's not the best route runner, doesn't have the most burst out of breaks. I noticed a ton of times where the quarterback had to make an elite throw in order for him to catch the ball because the corner or the safety were right on his hip. Yes, you're right. Phenomenal hands. He's a great hands catcher. Has that tremendous size that you like in a tight end. Is extremely athletic.
Yeah.
But in terms of run blocking, I noticed a lot of faults in his run blocking. I noticed him slipping off of blocks. I noticed him missing guys because he is so aggressive, where he's like, he sees a lighter player in front of him. He's like, oh, I'm going to bury you. And then he gets so amped up, he charges and completely whiffs on the block. So I think Mayer still needs to refine that part of his game in order to be a complete tight end. And then going forward for him in terms of getting open, in the NFL, it's next level. The NFL, you got to have some wiggle to your routes. You got to be able to separate. And I feel like he's going to struggle in the NFL. I do like him as a prospect. I don't love him. So that's why he's a little bit lower on my list.
I understand what you guys are saying, too, because this was some of the footage I did watch with Cody, and I understand what he's saying on both sides, too, but I hear what you're saying, too, as well, Joe, because the quarterback did put it, like, way out there, and that's why he was able to have that reach.
There was great throws by the...
out there. Like, it was farther away, but it's because there's the corner,
but he had to run,
was
on
him.
Yeah.
He had to get him. Luckily, he has that length to be able to get to it, so I can understand that not getting the separation,
especially
with the way some of the top elite, tight ends are in the NFL today. And if you're talking about drafting these guys, if Cody's put him at number 1, he better be elite enough at that first rounder that he's going to make that big of a difference for your team.
And that's the thing is there's these discrepancies with these tight ends because it is just like we mentioned before. Every position is so deep, and it's basically like, what do you want for your offense? What are you looking for in a tight end? Mayer, I think, would be a decent passing threat. But has the opportunity to maybe develop into a better run blocker for those running teams. But I think that's kind of what he has to overcome when he gets to the next level.
He's going to go to Detroit and not have a career.
And not have a career, right? Next, you have Darnell Washington. Darnell Washington is my number 1.
Yeah.
And I want to get some of your thoughts on why you have him as 2 and not 1.
It was close. It kind of ended up coming down to, as I was going on with the run blocking. Yeah, Mayer's, he's not perfect, but I just believe he's a bit more polished in that area. And Washington, I almost wish he was a little more of the focal point for Georgia because they didn't use him as much as I really would have hoped. Because this dude, he's like your freak talent that you see every couple of years. This dude, he's really tall. He's really tall. I was about to say it again. Really tall.
He's tall, Cody.
We get it.
Yes. But anyways. Like this
he's
dude,
6'7".
Yeah, he's 6'7".
264.
Like he's ripped. Like this dude is just
he's
pure
jacked.
muscle. He's fast to go with it all. Like, he's almost like that too good to be true prospect that slips a little bit, and then it's like, why? And then he's amazing day one.
Yeah,
I
and
can
that's
definitely see that being him.
right. And that's the thing. Like, for me, that's why I have him 1, because I'm also projecting with this with having him at 1. He's still got to refine some things. He's got to refine his route running. He's not the best at route running. He is fast though. Yeah. Like, if you have the fast,
great in the
if you have the speed and the athleticism that this guy does for a 6'7", 264-pound prospect, this guy's electric. Like, and you put him on the line in blocking, he will bury everyone. This guy is a tremendous blocker, and that's what they used him a lot in Georgia for, was that run blocking. He buries people at that tight end position, and that's kind of what my preference is. I love these bigger tight ends that can do something great, and then you can develop the rest of it. Yeah. So for Darnell going into the NFL, he's already got the size. He's got tremendous size. Yep. We don't see this a lot. And then he's got speed to go along with it. Now, if he can kind of get a little bit better with lowering his hips into a cut and explode out and create a tiny bit of more separation, this dude is electric, because there was question like, oh, why aren't they using him? Is he just can't catch the ball? Well, we saw at the combine, we saw on film, in limited fashion, they used him in the passing game, and all those were impressive. Like, he was making the catches with ease, like not fighting the ball. Like, so I think he has the highest upside, and I really do like him to the point he's already a refined run blocker. So I got him as my number 1.
All right.
Number 2, I got Dalton Kincaid. Dalton Kincaid, this is a guy that is more like a team has to fall in love with him. You know, Kincaid is a 6'4", 200, nearly 250, but extremely athletic, runs phenomenal routes. He's that receiving threat as a tight end. Great hands, great body control. I mean, he just gets open all the time, and you saw that this past year. The last 2 years, he was just electric. Yeah. So he's coming out. A lot of people have him as their number 1 overall, and I get it. Like, he's already an NFL-ready player that you could plug and play at tight end if you're a team that just likes that receiving threat. Yeah. So that's why I have him at number 2. Number 3, you have Dalton Kincaid. Would you have anything to add to that?
Not a lot. Really, when I put him down at 3, below, Washington, Mayer, it was just because of his lack of ability to run block. I viewed them as more complete prospects, and I really don't know if Kincaid's ever going to develop into that, or if he's going to be your classic dominant receiving threat tight end that you should probably take out on run plays and just bring in another lineman almost.
Right on. And then you have at number 4, Tucker Kraft from South Dakota State.
Yeah, I think I ended up putting him there. He's coming off a pretty serious injury this last season, but he's one of the more complete tight ends in this draft. He is a great receiver, huge catch radius. He's fast. He's one of the best run blockers in this class. Like, if he wasn't hurt, I might even have him up in my top guys. Right. But because of that injury, you don't like guys getting hurt before the draft because you don't know how they're going to come back from it. So that's why I ended up slipping down my list, but why he just had to be in my top 5. I couldn't put him any lower, justifying it.
You fell in love with him watching the tape.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really kind of what shows up on the field. Like, the guy is super athletic, super gifted, gets open, and a lot of times at South Dakota, he was lined up even in the slot. Like, they were using him as a slot receiver at times because obviously they didn't have good enough receivers. And he was their go-to guy. So it fits. It makes a lot of sense. And you're right. I am really concerned with injuries with him. Like, I don't know. He played at a lower level, and you were getting injured. And, now you're coming back and it's like, oh, well, where do I place him? Because I don't know if he's 100% healthy yet. I don't know if he's going to take some more time before the season even starts, and that's going to, delay his development. So he's a little bit lower on my list, but I still kind of, I agree with you with him being a pretty darn good prospect.
Yeah, makes sense.
Going forward, we have me. What did I take? I took at number 4. I have Luke Musgrave. Now, this is a guy that from Oregon State that a lot of people are split on. And I understand why. but I like my big tight ends. 6'6", 250. This is a guy that the only question I have about him, because he has tremendous build, he's got the length, he's got good hands. He's more seen as a receiving threat. Not very good at run blocking because he doesn't have that killer instinct. I saw on the field that he just wasn't aggressive at all. Like, it's almost like if you told me, hey, I need you to bury that safety. Like, I want you to bury him on this block. And he's like, okay, hey, buddy, I got to block you, so could you please make it easier on me and just fall down when I come near you? He's like too nice of a guy almost to play football. That's kind of what it seems to me. So
Ain't nobody got time for that.
for him, I love his size. I love his capability, but I want to see more of that killer instinct from Luke.
Yeah, I had a kind of very similar opinion when I was going over Musgrave myself, and it's what ended up kind of knocking him out of my top 5 is I kind of view him as a very low ceiling kind of player. Maybe with the right coach, they can bring out that potential.
Yeah.
But I'm just I see him more as a complimentary tight ends who can, you can spill in on certain plays. But I'm I just don't see this guy as a number 1 tight end. And everyone else at least has that potential.
Right,
That's on my
exactly.
top 5. They could be someone's number 1 tight end and make it work. At least in the right systems. I just don't see that with him.
Gotcha. And then we have next. You have was it at your 5 spot? You have Sam Laporta from Iowa. Tell me more about him.
Yeah, he's not even on your top 10. So for the fact that he made Cody's top 5,
that's crazy.
What's the decider here on this one? I mean, it's amazing stuff.
All right, so he's one of those one facet kind of tight ends. He's going to be your receiving threat. He can block, but I think what Joe doesn't like about him, he's very small. He's
short
probably
arms
one of the
too.
smallest tight ends.
So
in this
Joe
draft.
hates small people too.
But
Only Cody.
at that position, he has a rare combination of just speed, and while he's not tall, he still has size. This is still a very big dude.
245, 6'3".
So it's going to be mismatches. He's going to go against linebackers and maybe slower slot corners, and he's going to be able to get open against them. It's just whether or not he can really do that against the NFL caliber guys.
That's the big question.
Seen.
That's the big
And
question.
That's probably
is
why
NFL
he
caliber.
falls out of your top 10
Yeah.
because you're just well, this dude is really only ever going to be a receiver, and can he actually beat those top guys? I think he has a chance to.
He definitely does.
But I don't. It's not like I'm super high on this guy. I just think he has a good ceiling.
You have him
with
at
the right
5.
coaching.
You better be high on him. So Sam Laporta for me, the only problem that I have, I like big tight ends. That's just a preference that I have. Yeah. They usually transcend better into the NFL, better blockers usually, and they're just gigantic targets to throw to. So
safety blankets.
that's why Laporta isn't on my top 10. It has nothing to say he's a bad prospect. He's actually a pretty excellent prospect. It's just not my cup of tea. That's really what it is.
Makes sense.
Going forward, we have you pull up that list there, bud?
Oh, sure. I guess
Sleeping.
I could. Well, you don't know your own list?
I don't have it in front of me.
Oh, okay.
Come on. So I have at 5, I have Luke Schoonmaker from Michigan, a guy that does need a little bit more development, a guy but he's already, pretty good size and everything. They utilized him a little bit, not as much as I would like, but they utilized him a little bit in the passing game. But the one problem that I have with him is after the catch, he doesn't fight through tackles. He doesn't knock people away with a stiff arm. He catches the ball and that's it. That's a wrap. There's no yards after the catch with him. So that's one concern that I have with him. But good run blocker, decent receiver. But then again, I would just like some coaching staff to light a fire under his ass and be like, yo, fight for extra yards. Number 6, I have Josh Wiley from Cincinnati. This is a guy that could also be one of those guys where he just shoots up the draft boards because there's a lot to like with him. He's got a lot of these guys already are 6'5", around that size, and they're 250 or so. So for Josh Wiley, great receiver at Cincinnati, kind of underrated in a sense, and a guy that has size and everything, can get open well. Okay blocker. I still feel like he needs to develop that part of his game, but okay blocker. And this is where we kind of like go down a little bit in value, and these guys all need to work on something. Tucker Kraft at number 7. That's where I have him, South Dakota State.
Yep.
All the reasons that you mentioned earlier, I like him, but I'm a little concerned with the transition to the NFL and his injury. I just don't know enough about his injury and if he's going to be 100%. After that, these are kind of like deep dives, I would say, 8, 9, and 10. Zach Kuntz from Old Dominion. Love this guy's size. He's just huge. And he was one of the faster tight ends, but he's not getting talked about because he came from freaking Old Dominion. At Old Dominion, they didn't really have much of a quarterback. They didn't even really use him hardly at all. But I think it's the what if. Like, this guy already has size. He's got speed. He's got route running. He can run block. It's can he make that jump to the NFL? Not having a lot of true experience at the tight end position. So that's one for me. Other than that, I got Davis Allen from Clemson. Obviously, he's from Clemson. I mean, if you're an athlete from Clemson, you got some potential. He makes my nine pick. And at 10, I have Will Mallory from Miami. Will Mallory, I love this kid's speed. One of the better route runners in this draft. A guy that has speed, knows how to use it, gets open quite often. And I look for him to be that so-called receiving threat in the NFL. So that's what I have for my top 10. Right. And Cody, I'm going to say, I think next year you got to do top 10 though.
I will.
Do 10?
I will. I'll go a little deeper. It's a little bit of a miscommunication on my part.
That's
that
okay.
might even better be too, because sometimes some of those later guys do sneak in to be something special too.
Right.
You know,
and guys I didn't take a close enough look at that are later in the draft.
And real quick, I just want to mention a couple more in the honorable mentions. That's where I have Sam Laporta, because that's where he meets.
Oh. So at least he's in there. That's the one thing too that I was always kind of looking for when you do, like, because when he has a guy in there, is he even in any of your honorable
He's on my
mentions?
radar.
So,
he's on my radar. Yes.
Yeah. That's why it's kind of funny if you look at some of the lists, like, was there an honorable mention that is on this list that Joe has that you had, maybe Cody, that didn't make your list, but maybe was an honorable that might have been in there?
Yeah, I don't think at tight end, I probably should have went a little deeper. I think I only did, I think it was like the top 8 prospects, and I don't remember who the one was that I just wasn't even a fan of to put like an honorable mention.
Right.
I'm like,
so like, just I'm gonna name. I got 3 more to name. Brenton Strange from Penn State, a traditional tight end, like a guy that's just big, mauling, run blocking, not fast at all. Let's just say that he's not fast, but a lot of those guys in zone coverage, they'll get open and then do what you can do. Leonard Taylor from Cincinnati, another guy who's I feel like is underrated. Blake Whiteheart from Wake Forest. A guy that needs a lot of development. Yeah. Like, I have him as one of these honorable mentions because if he develops the right way, he could become a pretty decent player. I don't think he'll ever be a starter. I think he'll be a nice depth piece, a rotational piece.
Cody's honorable mention was Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. That was his honorable mention.
I got him at 4.
Yeah, he's worth taking the first handful of rounds. He's just, like I said before,
not Cody's cup of tea.
Yeah, I just don't think he has number 1 tight end potential. He'll be a very good complementary tight end at the next level.
That's right. If you guys are just joining us now, we're doing the 2023 NFL Draft top 10 list for the offense. We've knocked out the offensive line and now the tight ends. Joe, what are we going to go take a look at next? What's the next list we want to look at? Wide receivers, quarterbacks, running backs. What we got? What are we doing?
We're going to jump into running backs.
Running backs. Ooh.
Yep. Another 5 versus 10 list.
Here we go. Another. See,
at least I've looked at most of these guys. I just didn't go all the way down with my rankings.
All right, let's take a look at it. Here we go. We got Cody's
not completely
and Joe's list.
I have to say, I think I almost fell down the rabbit hole on this one. Like, I just was trying to find, like, because I know the talent is there. I'm trying to find like a bunch of solid running backs that I could be like okay with putting them in the top 10. And they're out there.
Yeah.
I came up with a list, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah, there's a lot of slower running backs. I went a little lower. I was like, I don't really want a guy who runs like 4.65 as a running back. I'm like,
well,
why? Like, he might be a hard runner, but like, that's so slow. That's not a starter.
Well, You would be proven wrong because Clyde Edwards-Helaire was a starter when he got drafted. He ran a 4.6. They're out there. I mean, that's the thing too. Is like when you run a 4.6 as a running back, you have to have elite quickness.
Yeah.
Like you got to be able to change direction super quickly, and that's kind of what's gonna, get you to that next level. Past the secondary, and then some before you get tackled. Yeah. But the running backs here, like this is kind of like it's pretty easy. Yeah. Like as you can see on the list here, I'm actually surprised you got Devin over here at 2. Bijan Robinson, we both have unanimously at 1, and how could you not? Guy's electric, 5'11", 215. He's a bull in a china closet. This guy will run through you. He doesn't make a whole lot of people miss, but this guy's so physical. He breaks tackles, runs a 4.46. Tremendous speed. A lot to like there. So number 2, this is kind of where we differ a little bit. Devon Achane from Texas A&M. A lot of speed there. And I have Jahmyr Gibbs at number 2. So tell me a little bit more about Devon, why you have him at 2.
All right, why I put him up to 2 was just how versatile this guy's game is. Because he is a very hard runner. You can run him up the middle, off the edge. Doesn't matter. And he's also a very good pass catcher. I think Gibbs is really the only one in the top that rivals him as a pass catcher. And what just put me over it was I was very impressed watching this dude's tape. He runs right through everybody, can run around you. You never know what you're going to get with him at the next level. So, I mean, it just kind of like, it was close with him and Gibbs. I just gave him like a very slight edge. Mostly in that pass catcher.
And it couldn't have anything to do with the speed at all. 4.3. I mean, almost 4.3 flat, everyone.
Yeah.
Like, that is insane speed. And the comp that I would give Devin, though, is like Austin Eckler. A faster Austin Eckler. A guy that, like you said, catches out of the backfield. He does a tremendous receiver, and he can create some mismatches there. Yeah. So I like it where you have him. But I was just kind of curious why you had him at 2. And then we both have Jahmyr Gibbs following that. You have him at 3. I have him as my 2 running back. This is a guy that also runs a 4.36. Yeah. And he's 5'9", just a hair under 200. So this is a guy we saw from Alabama that, I mean, when you watch film sometimes, and Cody, you could agree or disagree, but when you watch film sometimes, there's those players that kind of pop off the field to you. Yeah. Like you're like, even though you're looking at Jahmyr Gibbs, there could be other guys around him, but Gibbs just is like a highlight reel. Like this guy is amazing. And for him, he's so quick, he's so fast. Like he has the 2 attributes which is critical for a running back. I think he still needs to work on we've seen him catch on the football field, a decent catcher. Like he's not phenomenal. It doesn't look like it's completely natural, but he has the capability to do that. So for him, I got him, and this is a guy too that at the next level, I don't see him being that guy that just you hand the ball off to between the tackles every single time. Yeah. Like this is a guy you got to utilize his speed on the outside, get him out in the open type of thing. I kind of compare him to like an Alvin Kamara.
Yep, honestly. I made the exact comparison.
That's funny.
You can ask Zach that word for word. I was like, wow, this guy really looks like Alvin Kamara.
So he
runs like him.
Right.
He just
right.
Just develop the hands a little more.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he can work on his catching, then I probably would have put him
the other thing that I'll say too and this is something that I know coaches look for is blocking from running backs. That's critical. Devin, good luck, Devin. Nice knowing you. You're going to get buried.
He's a little smaller,
yeah. Jahmyr, I think, can handle it. I didn't see a ton from him, but like we did notice some footage of him being back there, getting in the way at least. Yeah. And that's really all you could ask for. You don't have to like lock the dude up and stop him in his tracks, but if you can just get in the way long enough for your guy Bryce Young in there to escape, great.
Yeah, to get to their next read. Yeah.
Right. Next, what we got? Next, that's where I have number 3. I have Zach Charbonnet from UCLA, a guy that is a utility player. And I mean, this guy does everything extremely well, very quick, very fast. You throw the ball to him, he catches it like a wide receiver. Yep. It's crazy. So that's kind of what jumped off to me on the film. And he's like one of my favorites. Like he's one of the guys where I'm rooting for him. Like I'm like, somebody. I hope he goes to a situation where he has a good offensive line, where he can actually like just show off all his talents. I have him at 3.
And
at 3, you have
4.
Jahmyr Gibbs. 4, you have Zach Charbonnet. So, I mean, do you want to add anything to Zach?
A little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I very much enjoyed watching this guy's tape because he runs so mean. Like, there are guys who almost look for contact, and he does not care. He just runs right through them. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome watching it. I love just that grittiness. Just, I'm not going down. I'm running through you. I don't care if I'm near the sideline. There was even a play where he was just about to go out of bounds, and he's like, nah, I still want some more. And just lowered his shoulder and just ran through a corner. And it's awesome. Like, he's not, I guess technically a burner. He's not the fastest. He runs like a 4.52. But his moves in the open field are up there with the top. They're almost like NFL ready. His juke, spin, he's very elusive for that speed.
Yeah, he can
change his direction. Amazing.
Right, he's got a lot of tools in the toolbox. You know what I mean?
Yep.
6 foot, 214. So he's got size too. Like, you know what I mean? He's not like any light guy. He has an average speed of 4.5.
Yeah.
And that's okay. I mean, you can get by with that. But then and again, like you said, he's an electric player. He's going to be fun to watch, I think, on Sundays for whoever gets him. Right. And we got what you got here? We got number 5.
I actually had the same number 5.
Yeah, was it Tyjon Spears?
Yep.
From Tulane. This is a guy that I have him at 5 because I'm so interested to see what he can become at the next level. This guy, played at Tulane, not a very big college, but big enough, right? 5'10", 201. Like 5'10" and 200 pounds? That's scary. Oh, you want to know what the other scary thing is? The guy runs 4.4. Like,
yeah.
This guy is a very explosive, elite as a receiver, too. Like, he runs tremendously well, routes, natural hands. Like, he seems to, like, catch it with ease. It's so soft, and he just explodes. Like, he just absolutely explodes on the scene. Good luck catching him out in the open. But Tyjae Spears, definitely an interesting prospect that I thought, like, some people don't even have him this high, but I'm just like, man, how could you not with this class? Like, there's a lot of really good players, but I'm like, Jesus, the explosion, the excitement that he adds to on the field. So, you got anything to add about Tyjae?
Yeah, I think the reason a lot of people put him lower is he's got a history. He's had a couple of serious injuries over the last handful of seasons. So everyone's like, can he sustain at the next level? He's going to be getting hit twice as hard by twice the competition. But, like, this dude, even in his last 2 games, was like the coolest thing I saw was he had over 400 yards combined in his last 2 starts. So, like, this dude is a difference maker on the field. It's just, health is going to be a concern at the next level. If he can stay healthy, this dude's got a solid chance to be, a starting running back at the next level. He's got the vision and he's got, like, that grit. The same kind of reason I liked, was it Charbonnet, however you say his name?
Right, Charbonnet, yeah.
This is not a guy who's going to, look to go out of bounds. This is someone who's going to, like, I'm near the out of bounds, but I'm going to try to run through you and get my team more yards. And I just like those guys. You can tell they love football, guys that want to do everything they can for their team.
Right on. There we go.
Right,
that finishes the 5.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But we've got Sean Waskewski. Did I mess up his name? Waskewitz. I got it.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
better.
Yeah, that sounds better. All right, he's in the house with us
What's
tonight.
going on, Sean? Welcome to the
Sorry,
show.
I'm butchering names. That's
We
terrible.
also got Marlon Brando just tuned in. Welcome
wow,
to the show.
check it out.
James Kowalski, Zach Walker.
Holy moly.
So we got some people in here just kind of spectating, just watching.
hanging out,
Hey,
chilling,
drop a
but-
comment,
but
man.
yeah,
drop
drop
a
some
comment.
comments
Let
in
us know
there.
you're there. You got any
Yep.
questions? Shoot them.
Absolutely. Well, Sean says he will be a great 1-2 player. You'd like to pair him with JT or DH. And he says, there you go, man. He's agreeing with you guys all together, and you got
it
it.
the second
Got a second time. I got it a second time. See?
Got it.
Sorry.
I like
But
Waskewooks.
I just called both of these guys to put their names together, Cody and Joe, and called them Jody. So there you go. That's that kind of night I'm having. But we appreciate you guys watching here. We got the top list. And you say you get a number 6. And I have my cheat sheet here myself. So I know that for a fact that you have Zach Evans from Mississippi at number 6, Joe.
Yes, sir.
Cody's honorable mention happens to be Zach Evans at number 6 then as well.
Yeah, and Zach Evans, I like him. I like a prospect that he can become. Great receiver. And that's kind of what really kind of stood out to me. Like, he's phenomenal at catching the ball out of the backfield, and kind of demonstrates almost like a wide receiver type of movement. So 5'11", 202, runs a 4.4. He's got a lot of potential there. I really do like Zach Evans from Ole Miss.
Yeah, he was just more of a project player is why I didn't get him into my top 5. Because it's like, this dude, maybe he could develop into a starter, but it's going to take some work. Whereas the other 5, they're ready right now. You could borderline put them in the right systems, and they could all be starters. And I don't know if he can do that yet. Maybe, 2-3 years down the line he can, if he's developed correctly.
Exactly. And that's like, for me, that's why he's like a projection for me at 6. I think he can be something special. Kenny McIntosh I have at 7 from Georgia. Georgia just has a ton of talent every single year, and it's really freaking annoying if you're a college football fan not of Georgia. They just seem to stack first-round picks and stack all kinds of talent. Kenny McIntosh is a guy that isn't really highly touted, is a guy that's kind of like going under the radar, a guy that's just, no one has anything to say about Kenny. But I'm here to stick up for you, my brother. So Kenny is a 6', 204 running back, runs a 4.6, and that's probably why he's dipped down a little bit. But like I said, 4.6 ain't everything. This running back, he's a great pass protector. That's kind of what stood out for me, and you saw that a lot of times where they would either run block, and obviously like our boy Darnell at tight end, great run blocker, and at pass protector. This is where McIntosh kind of shines. He does a nice job recognizing it and attacks it. Good blocking. Not the fastest guy, like we just said, but a guy that is a good running back, has good vision. So, I mean, there's something to work with there with Kenny, and that's why I have him at 7. Number 8, I have Tank Bigsby from Auburn. This is a guy that is a tank. Like, that's why his name is what it is. The guy runs through people. He's a juggernaut of a running back. A lot to be feared when he's running at you. That's kind of what we saw on the tape. Tremendous player. I really do like him. And this is kind of like where I'm just like, I'm grasping for straws at this point when I'm going through the process. I'm like, hey, he could be good. Throw him in there at the top 10. Yeah. Number 9, Chase Brown from Illinois. This is an underrated running back, too. I could see him go as high as the 6th or 5th best running back this coming draft, but a guy that come from Illinois, and Illinois makes great defensive talent. This is why I feel like this guy's kind of going under the radar, not being talked about a lot. Good vision, has speed, great change of direction skills, can receive out of the backfield, not great but good. So there's some things to like about him. There's a lot of things that I like about him more than the guys ahead of him, but those guys ahead of him, I think if they get the right development, they could be better. They could be much better. And number 10, I had to stick up for the shortest guy at running back, Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State.
How short is he?
He is 5'5", bro.
Wow.
He is 5'5", runs a 4.4, and is literally a bowling ball. Like, this guy is rocked up, solid, jacked. And you can't see him over the offensive line. I love that. Like, He is super low to the ground. He's kind of physically, he's like a Barry Sanders. He's just so low to the ground. Great, low sense of gravity. He's phenomenal balance. And a guy that just explodes through the hole. Like, if he sees a crease, he's gone. Like, it's amazing. So for Deuce Vaughn, I think people are kind of overlooking him because of his height. And I think this is a guy that we've seen short running backs get taken from the Patriots, and they turn him into these like all-star, runners all over the field, catching the ball and what have you.
Gotta put him in the right
This is a guy that I think that could really create some noise in the NFL.
That's kind of funny when you talk about short people too, and you use low sense of gravity as a positive for them.
Yeah, because you can't knock him over. You can't knock him over.
So he's got a low sense of gravity,
right? Because
he's
you
right
can't
there,
knock him
so
over.
close to the ground.
Yep.
Come on, man.
That's amazing. All right, so there you go. There's the list for your running backs.
Honorable
your
mention.
top 10. Oh, Jesus. Well, hold on. We'll get to your honorable mentions in a second. I want to get to James because James is in the house with us tonight. And
What's going on,
he wants to
James?
change subject a little bit, and I want to hit it up while he's got it out here. So he goes off topic, but will the Vikings ever win a Super Bowl before I kick the bucket? They get me excited like my ex-wife, then they let me down.
Excellent. Excellent comment. That's a comment of the year.
He starts the comment and he
nominee.
pulls out.
So, I mean, hey.
I don't think so.
Anything can happen, right? And this is the bigger thing for the Vikings is it's like they have talent. They don't have a quarterback. So until you legitimately get a franchise quarterback, we cannot have this discussion. Bottom line, you have Justin Jefferson there now, but then he's going to want to get paid big money. You're going to have some of these other athletes that you add to your team later on down the road that they're going to need to get paid. And by that time, is it going to be too late where you don't have your franchise quarterback? It really starts there. Yeah. So when and if you get your franchise quarterback, drop that same question.
Yeah, because that's where it might be. Because, again, when they made it as far as they did with Case Keenum right there, it looked like, and that's what they were hoping, that they could pick up the ball right from there, and they were thinking they were making an upgrade by getting, Kirk Cousins
right.
and not having Case Keenum. That would just get them over that echelon.
Right.
And it didn't happen, and they signed that big deal with him. Now they're even still stuck with him. It's still kind of linger out, but they've now changed coaches and stuff now. So now you're in that change here. And Kirk Cousins is older, where you got to start to think about moving on after that. And when you have a wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson, and you don't want to try and waste what you have in him, you got to try and find that piece for him quick. Because if you don't, you're stuck in limbo again, and then to where you're thinking about what could have happened, and now you might not sniff it again for another while,
Right.
That's
Quick.
a great question. Thank you, James. Keep them coming just like that. You guys drop the comments absolutely out there, and also like the video too. Give us a shout out.
Honorable mention real quick. Mohammed Ibrahim from Minnesota. And this is the funny thing is when I was doing my when I was looking at all these guys and everything, after I made my top 10 list, I'm looking at these honorable mentions that I'm listing now, and I'm like, man, I could have had him in the top 10. But Mohammed Ibrahim from Minnesota, Dwayne McBride from UAB, lower school, Keaton Mitchell from East Carolina, lower school. These are all guys that could become something, and you got to roll the dice on them. Travis Dye from USC, Israel Abakanda from Pittsburgh, Roshan Johnson, he was the backup to Bijan Robinson at Texas. But this is a guy that is, if you're looking for a power back, he's your guy. Keandre Miller from TCU, very fast dude. And I know, Cody, you like fast, so
I do.
Watch out for Miller.
All right. I'll make sure to remember. I'll put like a little note so I remember that name.
All right, is that your honorable mentions?
That's it.
All right, that's it. That's your honorable mentions for that. All right, so
Going
we
wide
are doing
receiver
the
now.
wide receiver list now here. We're doing the top 10 draft picks here for the offensive positions here in the 2023 draft, which is coming shortly, Joe. It's almost upon us.
Couple weeks
and
later.
even in the news,
2-3
nothing
weeks.
going on, but we still don't have a decision with the trade with the Jets and all that nonsense. And we're hearing some a little bit rumors about now the Patriots are thinking about talking to people about possibly trading Mac Jones and stuff, and Lamar Jackson still might hold out. So there was some stuff lingering throughout the
Mac
news, but
Jones
not
thing,
a whole lot of stuff going on.
The Mac Jones thing isn't really at the trade level just yet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just somebody trying to stir something up, saying, "Hey, Mac Jones and Bill Belichick, they're not really on the same page."
It's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen.
All right, so here we go. We're getting to wide receivers here now, Joe.
Sir.
Now, you guys, Cody has a full list.
He does.
On this one.
Yep,
okay,
got
so
one.
this should be interesting. Here we
This
go.
is already interesting.
All right, let's go. Let's rock and roll.
All right, number one.
It's already interesting, and number one, it's totally different.
Number
My
one.
mind's blown.
Cody has Quentin Johnston from TCU, and a lot of people have him rated as their number one. I have Jackson Smith and Jibba, and I thought Njibba is just a way more complete receiver than Quentin. He's got a lot to work on. Definitely work on his hands.
Yep.
And route running, he's not the best at it just yet, but he can be. So that's where, like, you look at, and there's not a lot of big receivers. This is kind of like where I could see where Cody would go with this and have him as a one, because he's 6'3", 208 pounds, runs a basically just under 4'5", 4'9", but big body receiver, a guy that is dominating on 50-50 balls, tremendous speed for his size. There's a lot to like there. For me, I like Jackson Smith and Jibba as my one is because he is elite in the slot. Like, he's amazing. I don't know if he'll kick out to like the outside at the next level. It's possible because he runs pristine routes. Like, they're absolutely amazing. And that's why he gets so wide open, has good hands, doesn't have top end speed, but close to the speed that Johnston has. So I think that I'm going to take more of the guy that's just ready to go, plug and play, than Quentin. So tell me, Cody, why did you have him at 1?
So the reason I put him at 1 is while I'm watching, which I think you've said before, is you like seeing like that it factor, that guy who just sticks out. You're watching all these plays, a bunch of players on the field, but this guy just stands out the whole time. I mean, this dude, he is fast, and he almost gave me like D-Hop vibes as I'm watching. Cause I'm like, this dude is he's just nuts. These guys just aren't on his level, no matter who's guarding him. But I will say, if Jibba played this year, he probably would have been my number 1. It was just, while it wasn't the most serious injury, just not playing for a whole year just kind of like deterred me to keep him up at my 1 spot. Well, his tape from last year is elite, though. I will give you that.
And that's the thing is I'm projecting now. I'm saying, like, okay, 2 years ago you watch his film, he didn't play much at all this year.
Yeah.
And he decided not to. And this is kind of where, you take it like how you want it. He decided not to play the last couple of games of the season when he was healthy. He came back healthy. Yep. He was like, no, I'm going to prepare for the draft. Hey, are you going to play in the bowl game? Nope. All draft. I'm in draft mode now. So that kind of bothered me a little bit as a football player. Like, your teammates and your brothers that are going into a bowl game need you, and you're deciding to just prepare for the draft. Even if you did get hurt.
I find your lack
You know what I mean?
disturbing.
Even if you did get hurt at the bowl game, not serious, but you just got nicked up, I still think you're going to be a high pick. Like, you would have showed more. So, I could see the argument, obviously. Like, I get it. But I have him as 1. You have Quentin Johnston at 1. No fault there. We move to our number 2, and I have Zay Flowers from Boston College. You have Smith and Jibba there at number 2. Do you want to add anything about Jackson?
About Johnston? I mean,
Jackson Smith Jibba.
Oh, I forgot his first name's Jackson. We've said Jibba so many times. There's not too much, but I do think that he's going to be the first guy off the board. I've been pitching my Bears theory for weeks, annoying both Jimmy and Joe about it, because I'm like, they might be looking at the Bengals little recipe there of let's go get our guy's favorite receiver from college and get him right in because that chemistry's there, and they have a pretty high pick. I think they're pick 9.
Yeah.
So like I could very much see him going there, and maybe
I don't
they
see
move
9,
on
though.
from like. They didn't really like Claypool didn't really fit in. While it was limited time, I didn't think he fit in. If you maybe trade him, get some compensation, then you draft a guy like Jibba, you're going to see change very quickly. Maybe Fields can get a lot more comfortable as a passer because now he's going to have a guy that he threw almost 2,000 yards to in a season. It was 1,600. Like, they were electric together.
Legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I get that. That's the thing is like with this receiving class, what's really difficult is the fact that there's so many guys that are close to their level, like each other's level. You know what I mean? The only thing that separates them a little bit is size or speed or route running and catching ability. Like, there's so many different variations of a really good receiver in this class that it's really hard to rate them. I mean, that's what makes it difficult. So, that being said, we're moving on, and we are going to the so I have at number 3, I have Quentin Johnston. That's kind of where I had him fall for me. Zay Flowers, I have at 2. Zay Flowers, he's like the draft crush. You know what I mean? You get this sometimes. Zay Flowers is absolutely amazing. He is a dominant receiver on the field. Like, he's him. He's the guy. if a team has a chance to up the receiving core, you better go get Zay Flowers, because this guy, I think, is a plug-and-play guy. He's going to come in and tear up the league, whether you put him in the slot or outside. I think he can play outside in the NFL. I really do, with his quickness and speed. And the way he tracks the balls is tremendous. Like, he never takes his eyes off the ball, catches it with ease. So that's why I have Zay Flowers at 2. 3, I have Quentin Johnston. Obviously, like I already mentioned earlier, the reason why I kind of have him a little bit lower on my list than most people. But still, he could easily be the number 1 for sure because of his size, because of his playmaking ability. And then Cody has Zay Flowers at 3. Do you have anything to add about Zay?
Yeah, I'll kind of like group my 3 and my 4 together a little bit, because they're both very similar wide receivers. They're on the smaller side, very quick. But what kind of sets them apart in this draft class is their release at the line. If you're going to be that small, you got to be practically untouchable at the line. So there's going to be linebackers. There's going to be corners who are like 5 inches taller than you.
Got to get that
guarding
footwork
you consistently. And Zay Flowers and Tank Dell are incredible with their release. They are constantly beating defenders because they were getting pressed all season. And a lot of their tape was guys trying to press them and just failing. Doesn't matter how big they are, how fast they are. And then these guys combine that with a catch radius that you don't see from small receivers. And it makes them very special prospects that I really hope that teams don't like sleep on them. Be like, oh, Boston College, or 5'8", 5'9". It's just, I'm very excited to see what these guys could do at the next level.
You sound excited.
I am.
Okay, so number 4 and 5, I think I'm going to pair them up a little bit. So I have Tank Dell, which is also AKA Nathaniel Dell, that you have, and I got Josh Downs from North Carolina. These guys are both super quick. I mean, just like Cody was kind of alluding to, Tank Dell is amazing off the line, super fast, super quick, got open a ton. And it wasn't even fair. Like, the guy would just kind of get off his release, and he would be the corner or safety or whoever was trying to cover him be 5 to 10 yards behind him. Like, it made it super easy for his quarterback, who we'll get to a little bit later, for him to just drop the ball into his breadbasket and touchdown. Here we go for Houston. So, and for Josh Downs, another guy that I really do love, but the next level, I'm a little concerned with Josh Downs in terms of his size. Like, everyone can point the finger at Tank Dell, but Tank Dell is just different off the snap. Like, you can't put your hands on him. It's going to be hard for people at the next level to do so. The ones that can are going to lock him up. But the ones that can't are going to struggle big time. So, Josh Downs, I feel like at the next level, I know he's worked out a ton. He's a hard worker and what have you, but he needs to get a little bit bigger, just a little bit bigger for me. Use that speed, use that quickness that he has, much like Tank Dell, and get better at getting off the snap and fighting off like a jam or what have you. Number 5 for Cody. He has A.T. Perry from Wake Forest. Tell me about him, Cody.
Yep, he's a guy that as I was watching, like, his tape just kind of jumped out to me. This guy is very consistent. He has the right build in a very small class. This guy, he's not insanely tall, but he's like right at the right height. He knows how to help out the quarterback. If there's a bad throw, this guy's still a QB's best friend. He knows how to get physical and get the ball right where it needs to be. The only little red flags I saw is he comes back a little too far on his comebacks. That's something that's very easily changed at the next level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But this is a guy I could see developing into, a number 1 wide receiver. We're getting kind of towards the tail end of those guys that I could see developing into those. And that's just kind of the reason I ended up putting him over some guys that people, maybe they jump out because they're faster. They do this little flashier. But AT just kind of checks all the boxes that I'm looking for if I was a scout in the future or anything.
Right. And that's what we try to do here at Football on the Know. We try to do everything for you guys out there. We're unofficial scouts, and we're trying to give you our, best opinions about these guys coming up. So now we're at number 6 for Cody. This is what I found interesting is you have Cedric Tillman from Tennessee at 6, and I have at 6 the consensus number 1 or 2 receiver for a lot of people is Jordan Addison at USC. So tell me about Cedric and why you have him at 6.
So Tillman, I believe he gets a bit overshadowed because Hyatt is just more of the flashy
explosive,
prospect.
yeah.
But this guy, he's huge. He's another one of those big receivers who I think if he can just work on his route running just a little bit, has that potential to maybe be even like a Mike Williams kind of player at the next level because his catch radius is great. 50-50 balls, he won them all season. While they worked really hard all season to get Hyatt his free releases at the line,
right.
Tillman had to really go up, get jammed, even get doubled on a lot of these, and he still produced. And that just kind of is like what jumped out to me and why I even put him a little over Hyatt is I just see his potential as being a bit higher. The 6 is kind of like where my number 1 guys end, and it gets more into these guys can be very good complementary guys,
developmental guys,
or maybe in the right system can get into like a number 1.
The one thing that I'll say about Cedric Tillman, and he is one of my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Guy has tremendous size, like Quentin Johnston. Like he's 6'3", same height, 213. He's got size. Runs an average speed of 4.5. I kind of see Tillman as being a red zone monster, like for a team that can further develop, like you said, his route running. Yeah. And he's one of those guys that he's going to get picked later, like way later. And whoever gets him, they could have themselves a steal. This is a guy that can not only develop in the slot. You think of a 6'3" receiver in the slot, runs a 4.5, which is kind of average in the NFL.
Yeah.
And at the early stages, I see him fitting in at slot. If he's able to develop, like you said, that route running capability and get that much, cleaned up and straightened up, he could be the outside guy. Yep. So that's going to be interesting to watch his journey going into the NFL and see where he ends up for Cedric Tillman. Other than that, I got Jordan Addison at that spot at 6 from USC. I love how quick he is. Yep. Like, I love the quickness. I love the speed. He's also another guy that gets open with ease. The only problem I have with him is I'm not 100% sure at the next level if he's going to get off a jam. I'm not 100% because he's so light. Like, Jordan Addison is 173 at 5'11". It's like, that's very concerning to me. And if you have a good press defense and they're able to get their hands on him, he's not running a route. He's going to just stay right there. Like, he's not going anywhere. So that's a little concerning for me. Another thing, too, about him is he takes one good shot in the NFL at 173. He's going to fold up like a lawn chair and be done for the rest of the game. Like, I have some concerns long-term for him where I'm not 100% sure he's going to last. Unlike guys like Zay Flowers, who's 180. You know what I mean? He's got some thickness to him, and a lot of people are going to point, well, you have Tank Delhi. He's pretty light. I'm like, yeah, but he's different. Like, he's a way better route runner, way better guy of getting off the snap. I don't think people are going to be able to jam him that often because he's so quick and fast. So that's where I have Addison kind of slipping farther than most people consensus-wise.
Yep.
Number 7, I have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee, and you have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. Cody, tell me a little bit about Jalen, what you do like, what you don't like.
So Jalen, if you're just looking at this dude's measurables, they are like perfect. His vertical is very high. It's one of the best in the entire class. He's very fast. He's coming from a system where he got a lot of free releases. So I'll be curious how he handles the press at the next level, if that's something he can deal with consistently. And what was the other thing? Drawing a blank.
One other thing I'll say I'm going to jump in real quick. One thing I'll say about Jalen Hyatt is that he's also another player that even though he's 6 foot, but he's 176. He's very lean, very slender. And that's where Cody has that concern about facing a jam. Can he handle it? He hasn't had to do that too much at Tennessee, hardly at all. And I will say this too. I also have an issue with when you're looking at corners, you're looking at wide receivers, and you're like, oh, well, he didn't face a jam. Well, the corner, like, he plays zone all the time. Like, I think this is a problem of evaluation in college, is because it's so hard because a lot of teams in college play a lot of zone. A lot of them are off man. A lot of them are allowing them free release, and it makes it 10 times harder to evaluate a guy like Jalen Hyatt, who, even though he is light, he's 6 foot, he has 4.4 flat speed, like he has the speed to take off, and I think he's faster than that on the field. Like when I watched the tape, nobody could stay with this guy. Nobody. It didn't matter who they played. It was just like he was by himself. He's like, pitch and catch. Like, it was too easy. So I wonder, going at the next level, definitely has to put more weight on. He has to. He has to get over 180. He has to be like, I would love for him to be 185. That's what I would love for him to be. That way he could be a little bit more physical at the next level. So he's definitely a prospect to keep tabs on. Let's watch to see his development, see where he ends up. And that brings us to number 8. Number 8, you have our guy, Jordan Addison. Tell us what you love about him at USC.
I don't think there's
not too much.
There's not a lot that I love. I don't think he has that it factor to him.
Gotcha.
No, he's not someone that when I'm watching, he's like, jumps out.
He's kind of being pushed up the board for whatever reason.
Yeah, I don't really get it, because this is a guy who has another receiver with a history of drops over the last couple of seasons, and he's not that fast. He's quick.
Doesn't have top end speed. He's
he's
quick.
quick. Once he gets it in his hands, he can make people miss.
4.5.
He's just not that special. He's
Gotcha.
probably going to be, maybe a good number 2 at the next level.
Yeah.
That's
actually,
I think that's right where he's going to sit.
I mean, honestly, I would love him as a slot.
Yeah.
Just put him at the slot and see what you can do with him. Let's wait and see where he ends up. But that's kind of like where we both agree on this. That's why we don't have him very high on our lists. And now we are at 8. This is kind of where I started to look for guys with size, and I looked for guys that with potential that could be starters going down the road. Marvin Mims Jr. from Oklahoma. Guy's massive. Guy has size. The guy is a legit threat. He has speed. He runs a 4.38, 5'11", but he's 183. This is where I was talking about Hyatt, 185 for his height, 5'11", 183. He's jacked. The guy's jacked. He's got speed. He's got quickness. Another receiver that I feel like is just everyone's sleeping on him. Everybody's sleeping on him. Nobody's talking about him. I think he not only does he have excellent hands, but he just makes plays after the catch. He's that special. I think he should be talked about more. That's why I have him at 8. Moving on to 9. And Cody has Marvin Mims from Oklahoma at 9. Do you want anything to add about Marvin?
A little bit. It's just kind of like my, I guess my issue is what kept him that low for me. Is when I'm looking, is this guy really he's a little too much of a player who relies on the big play. In a lot of games where if he wasn't making that 60-yard touchdown, he wasn't having a huge impact. Receivers in big games, he was getting locked down a little too much. And it's a bit of a red flag. It can be worked on. Route running is something you can always work on, but I want to see him improve more in the short game a bit. Because if you're only at deep play threat, you're very limited. Your ceiling becomes like Robbie Anderson almost, where that's not a bad player, but that's as high as you're ever going to go if all you have is the big play.
Right.
You're catch 70 yards and a touchdown. In some games, you just don't exist.
Yeah, and the one thing I'll say about Marvin is that the Oklahoma offense, they were trying to attack deep all the time. So it limited the ability to further evaluate him in the complete route tree. Sure. So I mean, that's where I could see where your thoughts went on him. At 9, I have Jonathan Mingo. Jonathan Mingo is another guy who I feel is another one that just everybody is sleeping on. I don't understand it. Guy is gigantic, has speed, has a lot of the attributes that you're looking for this year, and he makes plays. Tons and tons of video is out there about contested catches with him because the quarterback sucked. So a lot of times the ball would hang up in the air too long, and then he just had to time it, jump up, and just out-muscle the corner or safety or what have you. Guy was amazing. This guy is going to be better at the next level because I think with better quarterback play and more opportunities, he's just going to light it up. At 10, we are at 10 now.
Yep.
That's where I have A.T. Perry, Cody. Yes, I do have him in my top 10. He's at 10.
He's in there.
I do like him too, and yes, he has some things to work on as a threat. But I think he will. I think he will develop pretty well. You have Xavier Hutchinson.
Yep.
Or Hutchins. Hutchinson?
Yep,
It's Hutchinson.
Hutchinson from Iowa State.
Yep.
Tell me about Hutch.
So when I look at him, while he doesn't have the highest ceiling, like I don't think this guy's ever going to be, a number one guy. He has a very high floor. He can do a lot of things very well. He is one of the best blockers, a skill we don't talk about for wide receivers. One of the best in this class in terms of that. And he has no issues with the press, his route running, and he's big. The only thing I don't like is he's not great at winning like a 50-50 ball. That's why he's all the way at 10 for me. He has all of this, he's tall, he's got weight to him. I want to see the ability to, if your QB throws it up, make a play. He kind of would like fade back a little bit and you'd see the ball get swatted down or even intercepted, but that could be, lack of quality coaching. But I guess we'll see. I'll be curious. Did you get into scouting on Hutchinson out of curiosity?
Let me look to see if I have him in my honorable mentions or not.
All right.
But yeah, like he's like 4'5", he's 6'2", like he has some height to him, so you gotta like that, and the ability to block is a very underrated skill for wide receivers, because when people why can't we run outside? That's where your receivers are. They got to be able to block. If they don't, that outside run doesn't work.
Yeah,
that's where the corner comes up and makes the play. So for me, no, I did not have him in my honorable mentions. Sorry, Cody.
That's okay. I was just curious.
I did have a guy. There's a couple of guys that I just think that they could easily be these developmental bigger receivers. They have speed already, and they could make a ton of difference. Tyler Scott is not one of them. He's a little shorter, but Tyler Scott runs phenomenal routes from Cincinnati, gets open, catches the ball, makes some tough contested catches. Michael Wilson from Stanford. The big problem for him is I think if this guy could freaking stay healthy, if he just freaking stay healthy, he could be in this top 10 list easily. Made a lot of plays, but also injured a lot. So that's concerning. Matt Landers from Arkansas, another big body receiver with speed that you can develop. Charlie Jones from Purdue. Charlie Jones. I mean, I saw this kid show up at the combine, didn't drop a ball, very consistent with his route running, had speed, and I think that he could be one of these sleepers like you pick in the third day. And if you're lucky, maybe he slips out of the draft and you have him as an undrafted free agent. You got to steal. Jaden Reed from Michigan State, another guy who's kind of like a big muscle tone type of receiver who can make a difference for you there. Andre Iosivas from Princeton. That's right, from Princeton. Big, tall receiver. You love his production at Princeton. Yep. I wonder, like, transcending to the NFL, can he overcome that gap? Keyshawn Butte from LSU, very underrated wide receiver from LSU, a guy that did not get a lot of footballs, but a guy that I think can be explosive at the next level.
Yeah, I like that we have, at least I didn't have as many honorable mentions. I ended up just putting like one at the tail end of mine, and Iosivas was mine, because this dude is a very rare combination of size and speed. He's just someone you're probably going to need to develop, but this is like a 4th or 5th round pick. You're not investing a lot.
Or maybe a 6th or 7th.
Yeah, but the ceiling
you never know where they're going.
Like, he has a very high ceiling. Well, you see these guys, maybe they're not as developed because he went to Princeton, not a top-tier school. That could, whether it's, fast, he's able to play first year, or we don't really see him for a couple of seasons. Maybe like similar to when the Giants drafted Darius Slayton. It was purely based on, like, this dude is fast and he's big. What's his tape? Oh, he was the backup. Crap. It's like you pick him because he has all the measurables. You're just hoping you can make it work.
Right. And that brings us to our last position.
All right. Yeah, there we go.
Everybody excited.
Looking at the top 10 lists here of the offensive players here for this draft coming up in just a few weeks in April 27th, Thursday night. Super excited. Let us know in the comments, too, if you guys are doing something, especially if you live around here. Well, maybe we'll meet up and have a big old war room party going on or something. Any draft parties going on there. Let us know if you guys are having a draft party, too. And if you are, what are you guys serving there? You guys doing wings and pizza? What's going on?
What's
Let us
the
know
specials?
in the comments. Absolutely, man.
Come on.
That might determine whether we'll just show up or not. now. We should just crash
right.
somebody's
is
draft
right.
party. That's when we'll find out whoever's party's out there, and we'll show up randomly to one of them. It'll be a big surprise. It's like, hey, you guys won the sweepstakes. We're here.
We're here.
And we didn't bring any beer. We're drinking yours. All right. But we bought our plastic cups. That's
right. That's right.
All right, but anyways, it's the one that everybody was thinking about here too. You know, we're down to the quarterbacks, the nitty gritty. What everybody is thinking, maybe at the top spot here, where there's question marks. And now that the Carolina Panthers have moved up there, who are they going to go? You know, and we're seeing smoke screens the last couple of weeks here.
Yep.
And will it be a
Roll the
smoke
dice and
screen right until the night? We've seen it right until draft night or the night before. It changes. You know, whatever it might be reported. So, but here we go. Here's the list, and Cody comes up short on this again. But again, probably because he doesn't think, again, getting out of the first round, it doesn't really matter. If you're drafting a quarterback later on past that, again, most likely he's just going to be your backup. That's going to be somebody that's going to be a work in progress.
I just didn't really see enough.
I do my due
quality as
diligence.
I
Cody
went down.
doesn't.
And there you go. So there he goes.
Yeah, 'cause once I got out of my top 5,
Hey,
I was
stop
just
talking over
kind of
Jim,
Well,
all right?
well, here we go.
deterred.
Yeah. Well, that's
Shut up.
fine. Yeah, I'm not doing a lot of talking here tonight, so it's nice. I'm really resting my vocal cords. But here we go. Here's the list right here. It looks like they're the
Number
same,
one.
right up top to bottom.
Yeah,
Top
number
right,
one,
so.
pretty good. Hey, Cody, I love your 2 pick. I love your 3. I love your 4, and I love your 5.
Yeah.
I like it. But yeah, isn't that funny how and just
I love how our top 5.
just a disclaimer to everybody out there. We did not talk about our rankings. We did not ever communicate what do you think about this guy? What do you think about that guy? That's what makes this more hilarious. Is that our top 5 is exactly the same.
That's fucking teamwork.
So okay, I mean it is what it is, right? Yeah. Number 1, we both picked Stroud, and honestly, I don't know how you feel, Cody, but for me, Stroud, the reason why I give him the edge over Bryce Young, and it's not because I think he's any better of a quarterback, but it's the one thing that you can't teach, you can't develop: height. I think that it's not that I don't think Young is gonna not be a really good quarterback. That's what I prefer. I prefer a guy with size, and I love Stroud, and his accuracy's just spot on, deadlocked. And that to me is one of those attributes that I look for in a quarterback. You got to be super accurate. If you're not super accurate, it doesn't really transcend well to the next level. They both have strong arms. But yeah, for me, the size is a big factor. 6'3", 214. Not as fast as Bryce Young, but still he has speed. And I know he was clocked in at 4.7, but on tape, he looks faster than that. You watch that Georgia game, and mind you, Georgia had guys like Noah Smith, who runs a 4.39. They had basically all their defensive players, like Keely Ringo runs a 4.3. All these guys have speed, and he was running around and up the field on them. So that shows you something on tape. For Stroud, I think at the next level, and he mentioned this in a presser of his, he admitted that he was looking back at old games and people criticize him. Well, you didn't run here and you didn't run there. You could have gained some yardage or a first down or what have you. He looks back and says, you know what? Maybe I could have. Maybe I should have ran in certain situations. That's something that I can take with me at the next level and I can work on. And I think he has to. I think that's part of the game at the next level where if you have the ability to be mobile, you have to utilize that skill. And I think he will at the next level. So, yeah, I have him there. And Bryce Young, we both have at 2. Bryce Young, think he's amazing. I think he's got that arm. He's got what you're looking for in a quarterback. Just size isn't a thing. Anything to add?
Yeah, I can add a little bit to it. So with Stroud, there really isn't that many red flags other than Ohio State. There's not many quarterbacks who come out of Ohio State that you see really do much at the next level. And at the next level, you're not going to have all of the best of everything. His center is one of the best centers in this draft. Both of his tackles are top 10 tackles.
Yep.
And
but
his
look at Bryce Young,
receiver,
too.
if he was in the draft this year, probably would have been the first one off the board. People were already joking about how he stood out more than all of the other receivers when he was at his pro day. They're this guy, this is going shopping and not learning that the new model doesn't come out for another year. You're not going to have that when you're, say, first pick. You're going to go to a team like the Panthers, who they've improved. I know Adam Thielen thinks they're like gonna win a Super Bowl, but that's not gonna happen. But that's about the only kind of red flag I could have for him. And Bryce Young, this guy, he's accurate, he's fast, just 5'10". At the quarterback position, there's always gonna be question marks.
And the one funny thing for Bryce Young to me is that he weighed at the combine at 204.
Yeah.
His pro day happened a few weeks later after that. The execs and the front office people that were at his pro day wanted him to weigh in, and he refused. So I think somehow, like he was drinking a lot of water before the combine happened, was retaining a lot of water to help him get over 200.
Yep.
And I think that was a thing where they're like, oh, no, look, he's over 200, so that shouldn't be a concern. I think this guy is a lot lighter than that. When you look at him in a football uniform, when you look at him on the football field, he doesn't look 200 at 5'10". He looks a little bit lighter than that, maybe 180. So that's a concern for me as well, like for Bryce Young, is can you withstand the punishment in the NFL at the next level? Because you're going to get hit, bro. Because I remember there was a game that he had one good solid hit. He was laying on the ground for like 5 minutes. He had to leave the game and was in pain after one hit. So now NFL level, it's like 10 times as worse. So that's something to watch for as well. Now we're going to go to number 3. You got Hendon Hooker, just like I do at Tennessee. What did you like? Because I know there's a discrepancy out there about Hooker. Like, everyone's like, oh, well, he's 25 years old already. And, he played in an offense that works really well with quarterbacks. So what stood out to you about Hendon Hooker?
So what stands out to me is this guy is very efficient. As much as you want to be like, oh, it's the system, it's this, it's that. This guy had like 6 career interceptions. Like, he was excellent. He's efficient. He's arguably one of the smartest guys in this draft. And if it wasn't for his injury, I think he's like right up there in the first round guys. But this is a guy who might, fall in the second round, and it will be a steal in my opinion. I think this guy can be a starter at the next level, and he has all the tools. He has the accuracy, the speed, the arm, and he's just smart
IQ.
with the ball.
The IQ.
Yeah, there we go. IQ. That's the word I was looking for. So this is a guy I really hope a team gives him a shot to start, and he's not someone that just gets buried, because he's, as you said, he's already a little older. So this guy isn't someone you can wait a couple years and then be like, all right, now's your time to shine. Like, I don't want to be like Geno Smith and finally get my time to shine at 31.
Right.
Like, let me in when I'm in my 20s, please.
One thing I'll say about Hooker is that age doesn't matter. Like, 25 years old, everyone's like, oh, well, he's 25 now. He's going to be a late bloomer. By the time he actually starts, he might be 27, 28. Even if that was the worst case scenario, right? How long do you think quarterbacks play? Like, he's going to have a long, a decent amount of a career there. Like, I think that should be thrown out of the whole deal about him being 25. And how about you look at the game film? Because I agree with you, Cody. Super accurate, has a cannon for an arm, has size. He's 6'3", 217. Like, there's a lot to like, and he has speed. Like, they list him at 4.77. I think he's faster than that.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Yeah, so, I mean, we love him. Hendon Hooker, you're our number 3 quarterback. You deserve to be drafted. Number 4, we got Will Levis. This is another, controversial type of pick. No one really knows where to put Will Levis. What do you have on Levis from Kentucky?
So Levis has a lot of the measurables you want. I'd say very similar to when Josh Allen first came out and everyone was like, but he doesn't have a lot of elite tape. And I'd say Levis, he's not Josh Allen. I'm definitely not saying that. It's just
we're not
a
saying
good
that.
Comparison draft today, because this guy's got the cannon. I need to see more high level tape, because he doesn't have a lot of it, and we're just betting on high potential. And I don't like that with a guy who's projected in the first round.
You can thank the University of Kentucky for that.
Yeah.
Because they did not do a very good job at recruiting. They recruited, I guarantee you they recruited the crap out of Will Levis and said, here, we're going to give you a money deal. Just come quarterback for us. Not telling him hey, so who's the receivers? Oh, don't worry about that. Who's the offensive? Don't worry about that. And then he gets there and he starts playing. He's like, dude, where's the offensive line? The offensive line was rated one of the worst, if not the worst, offensive line, and the receiving core was rated the worst.
Yep.
how do you expect him to be successful? He didn't have any help around him. So, of course, the stats are going to be skewed. But I think with all that being said, he overcame a lot. And for him to even be in the positives in terms of touchdown passes versus interceptions is amazing. Like, that's got to show you something there, is that he does have playmaking ability. He's also mobile. This guy, he moves really well for a guy his size at 6'4", 230. Like,
True.
Guy's a legit quarterback. I think and yes, you do have to project. And hopefully he's going to be the guy that I think a lot of guys are projecting to be, and that's why he's in this conversation.
Yeah.
But it's all the uncertainty that you're not sure of. But I think that wherever he does go, I think he has to go to a team where he doesn't just get rushed in and thrown to battle. You know, he's got to be a guy where he might need to develop a year, maybe worst case 2 years, and to really get a hone on him and see where he is at as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Number 5, we got Anthony Richardson, the guy that everybody wants to push up to 3. 6'4", 244, immense size, and runs, a 4.43. Craziness, I get it. The athletic ability is off the charts. I mean, there's a lot to like there. And yes, he has a cannon for an arm and might actually have the strongest arm in the draft class. But accuracy, Cody, tell me a little bit about his accuracy.
He is arguably one of the least quarterbacks that we're going to talk about, because a stat that jumps out to me, in his last season, he completed just 53%. That's
true.
horrible for a quarterback.
That's true.
We make fun of guys like Cam Newton because he threw a horrible completion percentage. Cam's was almost 70% in college.
Right.
His team might have been better, but that doesn't excuse almost 20% worth of completions. Like, I just don't like this guy as a quarterback. Like, yeah, the potential's high because he has the speed, but I don't see this guy being anything elite. He might be someone who'll give you a flashy play, like, he'll go out, kind of like what we saw with, Justin Fields this year, was he'll be able to run a lot. But unlike Justin Fields, this guy I just don't think can throw at the next level. He might even be in the 40s with his completion percentage at the next level for all I know. The windows get tighter as you get into the NFL.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here for him.
That's good.
Because here's the thing. And you talk about, like you just said, projection. Like, that's why I feel like this prospect is getting pushed up to 3. Doesn't deserve to be at 3 in our rankings. But this is why he's getting pushed up, is because it's always the what if. And if you're a front office, a coach, and you're like, well, what if we take him? Or what if we don't take him? And we miss. And now 10 years later, he's destroying the league. And we were the ones that passed up on him. And I think that's the fear that a lot of NFL teams have, is they don't want to miss out on the next great player.
Yeah.
So projection-wise, everyone's like, well, if this guy does develop in 2 years, his accuracy, because it's all mechanics. You look at his mechanics, and they're one of the worst in the draft. Like, his footwork is terrible. His arm angles sometimes are different angles. Like, a lot of times he throws sidearm, like to throw it around a defender or something, which is okay. But when you get into that flex of just always changing your arm angle all the time, it's not always over the top. With his body, and his body is awkward sometimes, right? Like, he throws off base, and that's what leads to a little inaccurate throwing and stuff. And then the other thing I'll say about him, I think that's all correctable. Like, Josh Allen had a similar thing. He needed to work on footwork. He needed to work on his mechanics. And you saw, as a couple years later, he became the quarterback he is now. Like, he's definitely better at accuracy, definitely better at decision making. And for Richardson, that's kind of where people are at. We're like, well, look at what Allen did. Yes, you're right. He's farther behind than Allen. But a lot of people are saying, well, if we can develop him in a couple years to be somewhat close to being accurate, we got ourselves a franchise quarterback and a guy that can do a lot of things. And honestly, his potential, and this is why everyone's enamored with him right now, is because his potential is he could be better than Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
And that's really where your mind goes, is because Lamar Jackson coming out of college sucked. I'm sorry. He was a decent quarterback, but he wasn't good at all. He couldn't throw a deep ball to save his life, was inaccurate, Yeah, he had mobility, but that had to be further developed. You saw a couple years later, Lamar started to develop his accuracy, started to get better. Still not great, but he is a weapon. So same thing could be said for Richardson here, and that's why I feel like he's being pushed up because it's the what if factor, but a big risk nonetheless. After that ends our top 5, and for the rest of the quarterbacks, I'm only going to name a couple that I want to really talk about. Number 6, Max Duggan from TCU. This is a guy that I kind of feel like is going underrated. I feel like someone's going to get a steal with Max Duggan. I do believe that he can develop to be a starter at the next level. He has a lot of attributes that you're looking for. He's mobile. He's got size. He's got a strong arm, and he is accurate. That offense that he was in was a little weird. When I watched it, I'm like, I didn't really like it. So I think there's going to be that little small curve of learning at the next level for him. But I do like it, his future. Clayton Tune at 7 from Houston. This is kind of like we were talking about Tank Dell, right? Who was throwing the ball? Clayton Tune was. I noticed Clayton Tune from watching Tank Dell's film, and I'm like, this quarterback's kind of hitting on everything. He's another guy that I think is one of these unsung heroes, so to speak. Quarterback that has size, he has mobility, he has a strong arm, he has accuracy, he has decision making. And what I liked about him, even though he played for Houston, he goes through progression so well, like a pro quarterback. Great poise in the pocket, and then when things broke down, he used his legs to sustain the drive to keep it going. So that I do like Tune. So he's one of the standouts to me. And then obviously you don't like Tanner McKee.
Nope.
At 8. I love Tanner. I think Tanner McKee is just a pocket quarterback. He's a guy that is really accurate. So that was a trait that's the reason why I have him in my top 10. But injury prone. Like that's the big problem with him. Yep. Number 9, Aiden O'Connell from Purdue, a guy that just drops it in the bucket all the time. Very accurate, not super athletic, but he'll get the job done in terms of passing. Jay Kaner, I think, is one of these like late ascending quarterbacks. Like Jay Kaner doesn't have size. He's another short type of quarterback from Fresno State, but is accurate, has a strong arm, and you like how he manipulates the defense into getting his receivers opening and getting the ball out. So, so that's my top 10 for quarterback. And, so we're all done, I think. Bud.
Well, Cody had an honorable mention. He had Stetson Bennett from Georgia. Now, Cody,
guy.
why don't you bring up to him, because that wasn't even part of any of Joe's top 10.
No, not at all. And he's not an honorable mention.
Yep. What do you think about this one? Are you changing your mind then? You back it out? Or?
No, he's not an honorable mention at all.
So, while I'm not going to say I'm the biggest fan
of
Stetson Bennett,
'cause he's your
the
honorable
reason
mention.
I put him as an honorable mention is because, for one, I was not very high on a lot of those other quarterbacks. And while this isn't a great argument, I think there's something to be said about a QB who's just, I guess, finds a way to win. Whether it's a shootout, whether it's a defensive battle. If you can find a way to win, I think you have a chance at the next level.
He was on Georgia, right?
I know.
Okay.
I know. So I'm saying it's not the greatest argument.
That's the argument they use for Tom Brady all the time, though.
They use that for Jimmy G as
some
well.
other people, too,
Jimmy G's a winner.
He still finds a way to win. It's like, dude.
Go ahead, Cody. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, no, you're great.
Are you done?
I don't have a lot of points about him.
All right.
Other than the fact
winnability
because he doesn't have a great arm.
No.
He's probably just thinking to get the record, even though we try to say that doesn't make a great quarterback. Well, he's trying to say the record.
Here's what I'll say:
win a game.
This is the reason why he didn't make my honorable mention, is because he's 28 years old.
He's fair.
He needs to further develop. He needs to further develop, and he doesn't have the arm strength, I think, that is going to be needed in the NFL. Because if you can't get the ball out and get it there on time, it's picked off. It's going to be a late throw. So because of age and because I think he's so far behind in terms of development for the NFL, I just don't think he's going to work. I have one honorable mention, and he is a super dark horse.
It's like an undrafted kind of player?
Could be. A guy that you might be able to add to your team after the draft is over. And who knows, maybe someone will, and that's the thing, 7th-round picks, you're like, they're throwaway picks. Well, if you have a throwaway pick and you're done, like you've covered all bases, throw a pick on this guy if you need a quarterback, is Jaron Hall from BYU.
I know that name.
Jaron Hall. I saw him at the combine. This is kind of what piqued my interest. Is I didn't know who the fuck he was, first of all, and second of all, I'm watching him go through reps. Right, he's dropping back, he's throwing, and he had it was just so natural. Like his drop back was natural. He pushed off the back leg into the front leg. Like his mechanics were sound. It looked like so. And he had an arm, and it seemed like he was hitting his passes. You know what I mean? To all these receivers he's never thrown to before, like some of these other guys that tested well. So then I watched some film on him. Like, I don't even know who this guy, Jaron Hall, who? What the? I love Blake. Blake Freeland, I like him. He's on the same team. All right, let's check him out, right?
Yeah.
So I'm watching Blake Freeland and Jaron Hall play on these highlights. And I'm seeing Jaron Hall, like, he does a good job. Evaluating the football field, gets the ball out on time, accurate. He's got some tools to work with, and he's got size. So Jaron Hall is the only other honorable mention that I have because this quarterback class after 5
Pretty weak.
Yeah. So there you have it, everyone.
All right, and there
Our
you go.
top
That's
10
our top 10 of
for
the
offense.
offense here for 2023 NFL Draft. That's right. Stay tuned next week for
The
our
defense.
defense when we go over it. I know.
I'm excited.
Jody,
I love the
Jody
defense.
just did it again.
He just
Jody,
freaking did it
you guys
again.
are just gonna, that's
We're
you
one.
guys gonna be
I
named.
got some homework.
I got
Cody.
this call now.
Cody,
You know what I mean?
together we're super.
You have to be. So Cody and Joe are really going to do their homework on this one. I'm excited to see what they come up with this one. And
I'll tell you right now,
after it's all said and done, how many of these guys are going to be drafted in the first round? We're going to go because we even saw
There's
even
only
last
32
year,
that can get drafted. In the first round.
well, I know, but yeah, 31.
That pick
31.
got stripped.
31.
But-
Miami
but-
Dolphins got forfeited.
Yep.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
It's
right.
been throwing me off in every mock draft.
That's okay.
And
It
there's
doesn't
a few
matter.
teams
There's
that
a
are picking
glitch.
twice too, so it's interesting
Eagles.
to see where they're going to go.
Detroit Lions.
And
Seahawks.
and one more.
We got
The
3 of them.
Texans. The Texans also.
Oh, yeah,
have
yeah,
two of
Texans.
them.
They
So-
got 2 and 12. That's right.
So I mean, it's interesting, and we saw. I was just going to bring up the fact that even the Texans last year under Lovie Smith go out and
God help them.
get Stingley, which was kind of like a surprise for people, even. So it's
It wasn't a major
surprising,
surprise
for,
to me
for some things
for
that happen.
Stingley.
They talked
Because
about it literally. I think it was only draft day.
because we had
Yeah.
we had him rated pretty high on our corner list, and I wasn't super surprised. But the thing that I was surprised is how early he went because of like injury concerns.
Yep.
Like I understand his 2 years ago his tape was phenomenal. He was like, holy crap, this guy's going to be amazing, and then didn't hardly ever play because he was always injured. So much like Jackson and Smith-Jigba. So let's see what happens. Who knows with these guys and where they're going to get picked. But it is exciting. This is why we do it, because it's entertaining to even come up with these lists. There's so much talent across the board. And we didn't even get to the deeper side. The defense is crazy deep. I don't know how we managed to do a top 10 because
It's gonna be
and
stressful.
Jim, you might have seen my honorable mentions list for a couple of the positions, especially
Yes,
DBs, is like
I did.
super long because it is that crazy deep. So you can find talent if you need it. Just hope that your front office can do their job.
That's right. So if you guys happen to miss the live show, don't forget you can also check us out on Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere you can get your podcast, and also
right.
at YouTube. So once you go there, while
Hit the
you're at
subscribe
YouTube,
button.
hit the like button,
Hit the notification
subscribe.
bell.
Yep. There you go.
And then that'll let you guys know when we go live. That's
There you
right.
go, just like
Become
that.
a member. Become a know-it-all. This is the place to be. We are the best, and I don't care what anybody says. We are the best and most interactive NFL talk show out there. Help us prove it. Jump in next week, Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Be here. Let's go.
Join us next week from 8 till 10 Wednesday night for more Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.